Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, however, wherever, and whenever you may be listening, welcome back to the We Are Family Pittsburgh Sports Podcast. Folks, October, we're recording this in September, but the next time we're back here, it'll be October, and I always say it's the best month in sports. You got Major League Baseball playoffs, NBA starts up, hockey starts up, of course the NFL, you're getting into the colder months now. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. And we have a lot to talk about this week. Umpire Peyton joined by Jake Bell to my right, Nathan Schivins to my left. And before we get into the postseason, I want to say check out our social media handles in the description. Go check us out. Subscribe, hit the like button, share the videos if you can, if you have a moment of time to do so. So, let's start off talking about baseball, and what's coming to my mind right now is the Pittsburgh Pirates.
We did it. We spoiled so good, and the Reds, what an embarrassment.
Despite, the Reds had to have a home run robbery to even win a game against the Pirates.
With someone technically playing out of position, because Marte was not a right fielder going into the year.
But yet the Reds still have the edge somehow. This is how we talk about a lot of poverty on this podcast. How this third wild card spot is. The Reds are 2 games over 500, and yet, even though they're a game back, they're in the driver's seat because they have the tiebreaker advantage against the Mets. And the Mets this weekend are going up against the 3 best pitchers the Marlins have. They're going all out. Miami's going all out to ruin the Mets season. Personally, I want to see the Mets out of the playoffs because it would be funny. And I did predict them to not make the playoffs. And even if they do, this is a disappointment for them. For the Phillies to be the first team to clinch a division. They weren't even competitive in the East. They're lucky the Braves had a one-off really bad year, or else. And then the Diamondbacks traded away all their pieces, or the Diamondbacks would have that third wild card spot. They still have a chance at it, although it's looking less likely. Now. Yeah, it's looking less likely. So, who do we want to see? Do we want to see? For entertainment's sake, we want to see the Mets in there, right, against the Dodgers.
They're the best of the 3 teams that we're discussing, but they've played the worst over the second half of the season. Even with what you mentioned, Peyton, about the D-backs selling off at the trade deadline, and the Reds just kind of being a meh team, especially offensively. And just the Mets had to have such a collapse. Now, remember, it was a neck and neck in the division, just a month and a half ago. But the Mets just a typical Mets kind of collapse and just doing the dumbest things you've ever seen. They're just not fundamentally sound at all. Even in this Cubs series, they were able to take 2 or 3, but Jeff McNeil was throwing the ball all over the place. There were so many errors. Juan Soto misplays that ball in right field off the bat of Carlos Santana, who that was the only thing he's done with the Cubs so far. But we love Carlos Santana. But yeah, it is crazy. I think the Mets ultimately will make it because they're a game up. And if they hold pat with the Reds, and I just don't have any confidence the Reds are going to beat the Brewers if they can't do anything against the Pirates for 3 games. That was just terrible.
Are the Reds playing the Brewers?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I think it's at the Brewers.
And even though the Reds still have that tiebreaker advantage, they had to take 2 or 3 from the Pirates.
At least.
They just had to.
They're probably hoping for a sweep.
And give credit to the Mets. They had to go into Wrigley and win 2 of 3, and they did. You got it. But the problem
they almost blew the game last night when they won 8-5. Yeah.
The pitching, and that was my big issue with them coming in. Yeah, they have all this star power on offense, and Jake Bell talks about this all the time. Just because you have all these big stars doesn't mean you're going to come together as a team. And right now they're much more talented, but they're right in this mess with the Reds and the Diamondbacks, who are clearly inferior to the Mets. But my big issue with the Mets is I didn't think their starting rotation would hold up the way it did last year. And for the first few months of the season, it did. And then Kodai Senga, he's in AAA now somehow, which is he was looking like the best pitcher in baseball in the first and early on in the season. That forkball was playing like crazy.
His overall stats still look pretty good. I'm pretty sure his ERA still sits a little past
injury,
the 3,
he's never been the same.
Yeah, that injury in his past
same.
few starts just haven't been good.
So yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think the Mets, they could upset the Dodgers if they make it in that wild card spot, but in that wild card round. But I don't see them making it through a 5 or even definitely not a 7-game series.
That'd be a funny series. Again, obviously, last year they met in the NLCS, and it was like all big. They were very good teams going at it. The Mets kind of a little bit of upsets kind of to get there last year, but yeah, this year that'd be funny. Just like the circumstances, obviously with the Dodgers going into the season, some people who you think would be smarter than this were going to saying, could the Dodgers have the most wins in a season in the history? Could they break the Mariners record or whatever? And it was just like, this is baseball. And with the Dodgers injury history, like that was the thing I was saying. Like, they're not gonna stay healthy all season. They haven't, but their offense is so good. They're able to just some mediocre pitchers and relievers. They're able to kind of get by with that. But yeah, it is crazy with the Mets. They relied on, like, I don't even know, Jonah Tong. I don't even know if that's the right guy. I don't even know if that's his name.
The guy who's keeping their season alive in the rotation is this Nolan McLean, who's an unbelievable.
Star. Yeah, he looks very good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, when I was desperate in fantasy, I picked him up, and he was cooking a little bit because I could put him on the bench because they had him as a DH for some reason.
Because he's a two-way player, but in the minors he wasn't really.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, no, he was, and he won the game against the Cubs, that third game of that series. He gave up some bombs to Seiya Suzuki, but and Shota Minaga was really bad in that game. He gave up 8 runs in 6. He didn't even get through 6 innings.
That's not like him either. Like, he's usually pretty.
Which could be a concern for the Cubs. Yeah. The concern, they play the Padres. That's a match of contrasting styles completely. The Padres really pitch well, and their offense leaves a little bit to be desired sometimes. The Cubs, can you trust that rotation? I mean, Horton's been excellent. He's
dealing with some injury stuff. He has a tight back or something. He's going to be the NL Rookie of the Year. They need him. They need him.
Should be.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm excited for these playoff matchups this year, especially in the NL because it's so kind of, we say, like, top heavy. There's a lot of teams there's a lot of storylines. The Phillies got to have it this year. The Brewers, you figure, they got to have it at some point as well. Evans, deeper success.
But now the Brewers have a much younger, core than a team like the Phillies.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, the Brewers, like, if there was any year for them.
But yeah, because I mean, who knows if they're ever going to be this good?
Right.
I mean, but they keep proving us wrong every single year and exceeding our expectations. Yeah. I thought you were going to were saying something.
No, I said a lot. I'm good.
Yeah, but talking about the the NL West. I mean, I thought there were going to be 3 playoff teams. I thought it was going to be the Dodgers, the Padres, and the D-backs.
Yep.
And I think the D-backs sold a little too soon on their season. I mean, I know
agree.
their pitching with Corbin Burns being out was an issue, but that NL wild card has been kind of iffy all year, and we thought the Mets would pull away with it, and I think they thought that too.
Well, at the time, the Mets were way ahead. Like, the Mets were way ahead in the wild card.
That's true.
So the D-backs were like, what are we, we're way out of it. We can't, like, on paper, like, the roster, especially pitching-wise, the Mets, like, well, actually not pitching-wise because the Mets pitching hasn't been as good, but, like, the D-backs are just so bad from a pitching standpoint. It's what cost them last season, too.
Yeah.
They were the best offense, but their pitching staff couldn't stop a nosebleed.
The Mets had a lead, but it wasn't, like, crazy. It was substantial, but not, like, I mean, yeah, I guess. I don't know. But
it just was more of an incentive to trade them because they were going to be rentals anyway. Like, if they had like a year left, they probably would have kept them.
Well, at the time, too, it wasn't even like the Mets were so far ahead. It was like all the teams the D-backs would have had to get in front of, too.
Yeah, that as well.
The Giants were ahead of them. The Giants they were fighting for that wild card at the time. Obviously the Reds, the Cardinals were like right there with them, too. So
I guess we can't really blame we can't blame the D-backs for selling.
It was the right thing, like, at the time.
Yeah. I mean, who would have thought?
Right. Yeah.
They haven't even played like great. They've just been kind of like 500, but the Mets have been so bad.
Speaking of one of the guys that the Diamondbacks traded, like, you look at, I know this is like sort of off topic, but you look at how well Josh Naylor has played, and you're like, maybe if Cleveland doesn't trade him, like, who knows, like, how much that would have impacted? Because
we're gonna get to that.
We will get to that, but like, yeah, it's just that's something to keep your eye, like, just because of how good he's been and how reliable.
And that was a black hole for Cleveland at first base this year, unfortunately, because we love Carlos Carlos Santana.
Yeah, but like the thing was, like, they brought him in as basically a rental for that season anyway. So like you trade Naylor, who I assume they traded him because they felt they were going to get more value back than and still get some value with Carlos Santana. But at the same time, it's like knowing what we know now, like that probably would have worked well for Cleveland. So
Yeah, I mean, we can get to the AL a little bit. Let's talk about what is happening with the Detroit Tigers. I think we all were like going into this year, the AL Central. We didn't know who was up for grabs. I had the Tigers, and because I thought they had so much momentum coming in from last year, and they did, and they carried it, and they were one of the
whole season they were.
They were one of the first teams, because usually there's like one or two divisions. It's like it's over in May. And the Tigers, it seemed like it was that division. I mean, they held a 15-game lead, a 12-game lead. I mean, even to about a month ago, they had a 12-game lead over the Guardians. I mean, I don't think we've ever seen a collapse like this ever. And we saw in the second half of the season, after the All-Star break, we saw Detroit struggle a little bit. But then they picked it up a little. Like, they were, doing enough to hold on to that huge lead. And then all of a sudden, just... And I don't know exactly. I mean, I haven't been watching a lot of baseball since football's been back. I don't know what happened, but now this Detroit team, they're in danger of missing the playoffs they're playing a good team this weekend. I forget who they're playing.
The Red Sox.
Yeah, the Red Sox just took 2 out of 3 from Toronto. And the Guardians just took 2 out of 3. They extended Detroit's losing streak to 8, and then the Tigers squeaked one out last night and they tied it. But Cleveland has the tiebreaker as they
dominated the last 2 series.
They won the season series against Detroit. But we have to, as much as we can talk about the Tigers' collapse, I mean the Guardians in the AL and the Brewers in the NL. It's somehow every year they just manage to do it. Whether that's with Tito and now with Stephen Vogt. I mean. These player managers we saw with David Ross, that doesn't always work out. These guys who just retire and come in, but like all of a sudden, I mean, he's one of the top managers in baseball. And Cleveland with a negative run differential. I mean, on paper, they're not a super great football team. They're not a super great baseball team. Their rotation isn't like elite. I don't know how exactly they're doing it. I mean, you have to give credit to, Jose Ramirez, and you have to give credit to Cleveland's front office for hanging on to Stephen Kwan, because they were sellers at the deadline, but they could have been like Arizona-type sellers, and they held on to Stephen Kwan. And
did they sell? They didn't really do anything, right?
They may have sold like one piece, but like they were pretty,
but like they were considered sellers.
Right.
I
feel like at the time,
right. And I don't know. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this, because it's just shocking. I don't know what else to say. I'm speechless.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and this is very upsetting to me, because just the way they've done it. Like you said, you look on paper and you're like, this is a very mediocre team, and they should kind of be around where the Royals are. I think those are like very similar, and they were like the same team in the same place until the past month, where Cleveland's just. Well, it's been dominating. And I saw something, this was a couple days ago, but in the last 21 games, they gave up 37 runs.
That's incredible.
Like the Pirates were 4th or something, and it was like they gave up like 78 or something, or 70. I can't remember, but it was Cleveland way ahead of and you see these games, that's how they did it. They'd win like 6-2. Like against the Tigers, it was like 6-2. Like 5-1, it was just like that, and then they against the Twins they didn't give up much runs at all. Then against the Tigers again, here we see that's been the issue with the Tigers. Their offense has collapsed in this since the trade deadline. Basically, it's really crazy, and there were questions about that offense. I think Torkelson's has obviously been a big key. Kerry Carper's been a little bit inconsistent. He's been hurt. Riley Green's been great, but again, like in October, I don't like these strikes out so much. And they just have a lot of. And Gleyber Torres has been really solid, but it's just like it's like a lot of like solid players that you're relying on, and when they go into bad stretches, they've all gone into bad stretches at once, and I think it was getting in their head a little bit too, right? You see Cleveland, just the momentum they had, like we're playing them, like we got to do something about it, and it was just in their head because Cleveland just kept beating them. But it's just crazy because, like you said, they're I don't know if they're still at a negative, but they were like negative 60. Yeah, they were like solidly negative before this stretch. And you got to credit Gavin Williams, Tanner Bybee. Those guys are pretty decent like starters, but they've been really excellent during this stretch. I think one of them has like a 3 ERA now.
Gavin Williams, he's approaching ERA under 2, which is crazy. Yeah, and their bullpen, their bullpen's going to be good, but obviously losing Clase, they lost Luis Ortiz for rotation depth, obviously their kind of situations, but it's just been crazy how they've pieced it together. And Bo Naylor, I was going to say Josh Naylor, but Bo Naylor, who was abysmal throughout, like just hitting, this past like month or so has been really, really good for them.
I mean, he has the hitting genes from his brother Josh. You would think he was bound, because I've always liked his swing and his power, but it's never really come together.
Yeah, they were really high on him. I thought he'd be pretty solid. I thought he might be like one of like their third best hitter or something this season. It just never really worked out. But they just have a lot of scrappy kind of hitters. It's just and now the question is, should they get to October? I think they will now, because I think they're either 2 games up or one.
Houston. I mean, even if they don't win the division, Houston is just falling apart. We can talk about Houston, but I want to hear what you have to say about this. But the 2 things that you mentioned, the Tigers lineup, when you've looked at it on paper, it's like kind of, I'm not saying a hodgepodge of nothingness. That's very disrespectful, but a hodgepodge
at least you're wanting a little more.
Guys, like there's not a lot of star power in that lineup. And I think we saw some regression to the means. I mean, we kind of saw that at the beginning after the All-Star break. Their offense wasn't doing anything. I mean, Javier Baez was a fluke All-Star. Now he's done nothing. But when you talk about Cleveland, what has always been the backbone of their team has been their pitching. But I think right now it's their bullpen. Even without Emmanuel Clase. I mean, the times I've watched Cleveland, they have stud after stud after stud out of that bullpen. Like, all these guys could be potential closers. Like, so when the big thing in October is starting pitching and bullpen. And when you have, especially if you have a great bullpen, because starters don't go as long in the postseason, you have that depth, you can do anything.
Oh, absolutely. And I kind of do want to mention Javi Baez, because I looked up his numbers, because I was like, oh yeah, I remember him being an all-star. I wonder if he kept continuing, and he has an OPS either slightly better or slightly worse than he did his first year as a Tiger. And whenever that happened, everyone's like, oh, this is the worst contract ever, stuff like that. But now he's considered an all-star. I still think he's obviously been better than the last 2 seasons, but like at the same time, the value of him is his bat, because he's not going to walk. He's going to walk at most 20 times a season. When
you contribute to losing a 12.5 game division, there's not going to be much forgiveness there. Care. We don't care if he was an all-star or not.
Right, and it's tough, because I always root for the Tigers. You guys know I like going to see Wolves games, so I see a lot of their prospects coming up and developing pretty well. Like I think that, I know Riley Green, we mentioned like the strikeout issues, same with Torkelson, but like it's cool to see them still be productive major leaguers. So I kind of root for them, but at the same time, like I have to respect Cleveland so much for what they're doing. Like they should not be in this situation. I mean, most of the season, if not, they still might be like in this area, but in terms of batting average, they're worse than the Pirates. But like they're just winning games, and if they win the division, like, I don't know how you don't give the Manager of the Year award in the AL to Stephen Vogt. I mean, who else do you give in the American League? Maybe the Blue Jays manager if they win the division.
What's his name with the Mariners? Because they won.
That is true.
They've been like they lost 1 game out of their last like 20.
That is very true. Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, that's. I mean, that's a very
it's
good case,
certainly a conversation.
It is, absolutely.
He probably should be the front runner just because how improbable this was.
Right, and I don't think Cleveland will win more than a playoff series. That's my guess. Just because I think
they got to make it first,
right.
too. Still.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, they're the hot hand.
Yeah, like they're hot enough to where they'll be like the Tigers last year and win a playoff series. But like it's still just very impressive, and it gives you some hope next offseason. Like who knows? Like I don't know how much Kwan's free agency value is, but maybe they try to look in bringing him back, because he's still important to that team. It's just
he's under contract. I think
he has one more year.
Like I'm talking like more like extension. Like purposes,
okay.
You know what I mean? So like. That would be interesting there, but like overall, I think this is good. I hope that the Tigers make like a splash trade in the offseason, like just get some superstar in your batting line, like in the lineup. So would be
I think
interesting.
both of those teams need
They
that.
still
They
need
could,
the
yeah.
Tigers. Like they still need some pitching
They
depth
do.
too. That's
They
just
very
been such an issue since Tarek Skubal's become a star. You figured the Flaherty addition. We were all saying that's a great
He hasn't
addition,
been very good.
and he's not been good. They got rid of Charlie Morton. They brought him. Now nobody had
Oh,
expectations.
did they get rid of him?
Yeah,
they
he's.
did,
Oh,
yeah.
Guess where he
jeez.
is now. Guess where he is now.
Atlanta?
Yeah.
Atlanta's just picking up every pitcher to try and finish the season.
Yeah, because all their pitchers are hurt. They
Yeah.
they just need arms
Well, they
anyway.
randomly got another guy like beforehand. It's like
Well, they got
it was,
Eric Fetty.
It was the shortstop from the Padres, Kim.
Kim,
Yeah, they
yeah.
got him. Yeah.
Oh,
so-
Sung Kim.
Yeah,
Oh, Sung
so.
Kim.
But yeah, the Tigers, like, that's why I was saying, like, in the playoff series too, like, assuming they made it, and I still think they're probably gonna make it because the Astros have just they just look lifeless too. But it's just like you got Tarek Skubal, and this was the issue last postseason too. When they were playing the Cleveland, it was you relying on Tarek Skubal, to win 2 games in a series. It's just so hard on Skubal and that team. And it's just like, now Casey Mize has had a good season, but can you really rely on him? We don't know. They get a big spot in October. So it's just, and there's the other guys, like, it's just Alex Cobb, they're trying to hope to get back. We'll see. He's usually when he's not on the Orioles, he's a very solid pitcher. So we'll see there. But it's just, and their bullpen, it's like, who's their go-to guy? Tommy Kahnle hasn't been nearly what they thought he would be.
At times Finnegan looked good, but you still never know.
Yeah, and he's very like hit or miss.
He is,
He's either like
yeah.
elite or he like gives up like a bunch of runs.
Yeah.
It feels like so. Yeah, they need some more like high end kind of players. I think at all positions. Although, like in this division, you thought they had it this season, just because I think their lineup depth is really good. It's just I think Riley Green's a star now. I think he's shown he's a star. 36 homers, I think it said, and he makes a big impact. I think Spencer Torkelson could be a star at some point. His average isn't as high as you like. If he could hit like 240, 250, kind of like Schwarber does now. Schwarber's turned into a great player because he's holding his own against lefties and then 250.
And don't forget about Kerry Carpenter
Well, that's
because
what
he
I'm-
has
yeah.
that clutch gene.
Yeah.
Like
He does.
we saw that in the playoffs last year against Cleveland.
But he's a guy that kind of came out of nowhere as a prospect. Like he was like always pretty decent. They drafted him out of Virginia
They
Tech.
just have a lot of guys that strike
They
out
do,
a lot.
Yeah, but like he had one season, I think it was 2022, where he completely broke out in both Double A and Triple A, and they had no choice but to call him up. And in 2022, he was really the only solid player that they had. Or I forget when he got called up, then or 2023. Either then, their offense was abysmal, but he was the only one that actually had some production whenever they called him up. And he's proved to be a pretty solid bat, but he also is a guy that doesn't walk very much.
And they don't play him at all against lefties.
No.
AJ Hinch doesn't put him in at all against lefties. I know that for my fantasy.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
but anyway.
I mean, I would bring, if I were the Pirates, I'd bring him in if I could. Obviously, they won't trade him, but
Oh yeah.
I
We were
would
talking
definitely
about
welcome that.
big moves in the
Yeah.
big move in the offseason. I love the Pirates having a big move in the offseason too.
Would you give up Cruz to get Carpenter? that would be a question.
Well,
yeah.
I would.
it'd
too.
have to be
You know,
Carpenter and something else, I
You
think.
think
But
like? I just
I mean,
don't know what
Cruz is
value
bad. I
Yeah.
mean,
Like,
but
I don't
his
know what value is.
potential, though,
Right.
his potential and his athleticism and the way he steals 30 bags. I don't know how many stolen bags
But,
he
like-
has. Yeah, it has to be in the consideration.
Yeah.
But we're out on Cruz, right, Nate?
I think
Me and you are out.
I
on
mean
him.
both of them really struggle against lefties. Carpenter's shown he's the better hitter overall. I guess Cruz's speed and everything, but what's he ever going to be as a defender? Carpenter's not like the greatest
Dude,
defender.
what was that the other day? This is off topic. He's just out there. It's like his head's not attached to his body, or sometimes he's just not there. The ball was like he was pretending like he was acting like he
didn't even go
needed
up
to
to
jump.
look.
He didn't look at the ball, and he was acting like he needed to jump over the wall to catch it, and it was literally right there. And he's not even looking at the ball, and he twists his ankle putting his foot up against the wall, and the ball hits him in the arm. It's just like there's no fundamentals with him.
Well, like,
I don't even know.
I watched the
And
video.
he got hurt. I think he's okay, but he had to come out of the game.
Like I watched a video and it said that I forget what stat. It might have been like fielding value or something. But Cruz actually leads the Pirates in fielding value just because of his arm strength and his technically has range out there. So I was like, wow, that's interesting. And then
What
Joey
is
Bart
that
obviously
based
was
on
worse.
production on the field,
I don't
or
know.
is that based on like?
No idea. He definitely doesn't lead the Pirates in defensive run saves. I know that. For
Right.
Tommy.
Does he? Does he?
I don't know.
Tommy, get your contacts right. He's like, although he had a couple of hits recently, but he was 0 for 28 there.
Yeah.
He's just too streaky. Yeah, we got to have a better offseason. And who knows?
Should
we'll talk about the Pirates another time.
You don't want to talk about
I don't really want to talk about
Can I just
them.
talk about the Reds?
We could talk more about the Reds.
That's what I was, because that was just a complete joke. I mean, I was watching that, and I'm like, if I'm a Reds fan, like, I'm just so irate because it's right there in front of you. The Mets have collapsed. You've played okay. It was like they won like 10 of their last 15 or something. They played pretty good. You have the Pirates at home. The Pirates have nothing to play for. The Pirates have a historically bad offense. And we saw that in the series. The Pirates did what they do offensively, which is next to nothing. But the Reds were just worse. I mean, and that third game,
extra innings, the home team has the advantage. And
Yeah,
I think the Reds are just so. I think they are like 3-12 in extra innings this year.
Yeah,
That's
you can't
really
have that. You
bad.
cannot have that.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Like Stevenson, Dennis Santana throws him a hanging breaking ball and he crushes it. And you're like, okay, there you go, Reds. You know, like there you go. You'll probably go to extra innings. You'll win the game. And you get Yohan Ramirez in the 11th. Forget the 10th even, whatever. You should have won anyway. Like in the 10th, probably getting that extra run. But in the 11th, it's Yohan Ramirez coming out there again. You have a runner on second and Yohan Ramirez. And Yohan Ramirez almost gave it up, but he did a great job. He literally closed the Reds out. And it was like
That's
the top
crazy.
of the lineup.
Yohan Ramirez is the biggest.
Boomer bust.
Yeah,
His stuff is phenomenal, but he's so inconsistent.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you see the movement on his I guess a sweeper, slider, whatever you call it, but like
It's
it can
insane.
break throughout the entire batter box.
But also that's the problem at the same time. That's the problem.
That very much is, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, and in that last game, it was like the Pirates. Nick Lodolo just completely owned the Pirates. Like every
He's a beast,
batter.
man.
He is
He's
very
a beast.
good, yeah. That's why you like the Reds sneaking in. You don't want to face Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo. That's
In
a
a
big
3-game
thing.
series.
Yeah. So who knows?
Or Andrew Abbott. I mean, is he healthy right now?
He's been. I don't know.
I don't know.
He's usually like.
I haven't even.
But like he still has been very good. Like you don't want to face him. Like if you're the Dodgers and you have to face those three guys in a row. Like who knows? So.
But like it was every hitter was getting struck out. Like the Lodolo was striking out every Pirates hitter. The Pirates like we're here you go, Reds. Like we're doing nothing today. They tried to hand him the game like all 3 games. The Pirates are like, here you go, Reds. Like we've got our 4-run inning and we're done. And they just Hayes like that play, like Hayes should have scored. Like he like stopped at third. He kind of slowed down. Like if he didn't do that, he would have been clearly safe on that first. And they only get the 1 run out of that.
That's the 3rd game, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's 2-0 for a while, and the Pirates get a poverty run, and you're literally you're sitting there, and you're like, what are we doing? Put them away. They are so bad. This is a game like we've seen it so many times this year. It's like the Pirates are gonna do nothing today, which is like normal. And the Reds are just like, I guess like the pressure's getting to them. Tyler Stevenson, why was he not starting like, in the 3rd
Playoff
game of the series?
atmosphere in the Great American Ballpark.
The fans were like, especially at second game, the fans are fired up. Yes, let's go, Tyler Stevenson, homer. And then they have to watch them struggle against Yohan Ramirez. They get closed out again. But
Oh my
that
gosh.
3rd game, Brian Reynolds he's like always like is he checked out? Like is he checked out? Like it feels like this season like he's been checked out for a while almost. The way he's striking
He's had a
out.
much better second half, though.
Yeah, he's a better second half, but he's still not like what he should be. But he hits that ball, and I'm like, no way, like no way the Pirates are gonna tie this game and win in extra innings or something. Luckily, Noelvi Marte, Cincinnati fans are on their knees for Noelvi Marte making that play. If he doesn't make that play, it's another extra inning game. Like, I just don't, like, that is just the most poverty series from a team that needs to, like, is right there. It's right there in front
It's
of
right
you.
in front of you.
Nate,
And-
that might have been your like funniest rant, and also like the funniest thing you said, calling it a poverty run. I don't know why that got me.
That was
so
like
funny.
surprise. How
No,
much
but
you
it
were
was like-
laughing.
I don't know
It was
why
like-
that
It was a
there.
poverty
so
run.
funny.
What? I mean, literally, it was a ground out, and the Reds were like letting them have the run. It was like, so yeah, like I don't think the Reds are gonna make it like almost solely because of this. Like that series set the tone. They really did. That was just so embarrassing. I mean, the Mets fans who've been through it, they're like live watching. They're like the Pirates. They're like, please, Pirates, please. And they're like,
Frank
what?
the Tank.
Frank the Tank's like, oh, he was like mad. He was like, oh, geez, the Pirates. You knew they weren't gonna sweep.
He better be thanking the
Yeah,
Pirates.
yeah,
Thank the
exactly.
Pirates.
Yeah, like
but-
Paul Skeens being just him and just dominating.
And Matt, but like if you're a Mets fan, you're just like, jeez, oh man, like they're just like us.
Yeah, but still, like this is like you're rooting against like the Reds should not be in this situation. You're just rooting for them to lose, and it's like you never. I hate being the fan of a team that's rooting for other
Yeah.
teams to lose because it's like
Steelers.
you should because you should be the ones like that's why I hate it. It's like whenever I like my friends are like watching games like, oh, we need this team to lose. I'm like, let's not worry. Like we shouldn't be worrying about this. Let's just
All
like,
you can a lot of these teams that are in these races, they're mad. I keep hearing the phrase from these broadcasters.
Yeah.
They're like, we can only control what's in front of us.
Right,
You
and-
can't look. You can't worry
yeah.
about the
The
other
Reds
game.
did not control what was in front of them.
and I have a huge pet peeve of people rooting for a team to lose so that your team that's in the playoffs gets to face that team because you'd rather face that matchup. It's like if you're serious about winning, it shouldn't matter who you're facing in the first round, right? Like if you're
It's just
truly
it's a poverty position
it
to be
is.
in. Like actually, like you're just like, please lose. Like
please, so we
we're
can win one matchup and then we lose.
We're
in the
so
second.
mediocre,
Like,
we
let's
need
not- yeah. Like I can't stand that.
I
like
think
if
we're
you
accustomed to that
That's
here.
why I hate whenever, like, I remember, like, Michigan won the national championship that year. They were like, oh, no, because they were hoping to play Florida State. They're like, oh, we're playing Alabama. This isn't good. It's like, you guys are the one, you're
Yeah,
the
you're
number
the-
one team in the
yeah.
country. It shouldn't matter who you're facing.
You're gonna have to beat them
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. Like, you're going to have to beat one of these really good, I don't know, I'm sorry, that's a rant. It just,
No, you're fine. We love
just,
rants.
as a former athlete, I just hate whenever people say that. So, like,
As a
Yeah.
failed former
as a
athlete,
well, I decided to retire.
no, I'm
So-
saying me. Like I was
Oh,
a
fair enough.
failed rec basketball athlete.
Well, I want to finish up with the AL West. We talked a little bit about the Astros. We have to give credit where credit's due to the Seattle Mariners. I didn't like their attitude. Some of the things the GM has said in the past about like, oh, we gotta
We gotta be 88 wins.
we have to be 85 wins,
Yeah,
whatever it
yeah.
was.
Yeah.
But they went out and they said this division, the Houston, this is the end of
Gettable.
Houston.
Yeah.
Not the end, but like this, they're getting older. They're probably gonna have to start a rebuild of
It's
some
getting
sort
towards the
soon.
end.
Yeah, which is
It's
crazy.
getting, the Texas is. I'm very disappointed. in
Texas
Texas
collapsed too, bro.
Texas
Yeah.
is.
They got there and then they
Yeah.
lost 8 straight games.
No.
Texas was in it, but Seattle went all in, and it's paid dividends.
Mm-hmm.
And this AL, I mean, I feel like it's very similar to last year. There's a lot of teams like I mean, I look at all these teams.
They have like a
And I
major
see
like,
holes.
Yeah,
I
flaw.
see holes. And that's why it's kind of like for the Yankees and the Mariners, I think those are going to be the top two teams unless Toronto could still win that division, actually. But I still think, I think Toronto and the Yankees both have holes. Seattle, the only big hole with them is lack of playoff experience, I feel like. Like, it wouldn't shock me. I think Nate's talked about this. Like, Seattle could go to the World Series, but it's just like they haven't been there a whole lot. They were there a couple years ago, won a wild card round against Toronto, but you have to give their front office credit. It was a 3-way race. Houston's always been that top dog, and they said, we're going to end that now. And it was close. It was close, and Seattle took care. I mean, we kind of thought Seattle was the better team, and they were eventually, with all the pieces they had, and they took care of business last weekend at home against Houston. And Houston, I mean, losing 2 out of 3 to the Sacramento A's. It's not looking good in Houston
Well,
right
even
now.
before that, the Mariners dominated the Astros in Houston this past
So
weekend.
one of Houston, Cleveland, or Detroit is going to be one of the odd man out, and I think
Looks
right
like
now
Houston,
it's going to be Houston, but we'll see.
which is
see.
crazy because they were
They were like
they were in the division the whole season.
but they
They
always
were.
had like a slim lead, and they kept hanging on, and then finally went down the drain.
Yeah, and it seemed like they were always matching like the Mariners and the Rangers in terms of that. Like every single, like it feels like if the Mariners would win 2 in a row, the Astros would. It would just like stay similar. But like it's just. I don't know, it's weird like seeing the Astros because like whenever I first started watching baseball, they were the worst team in baseball.
Yeah.
They were like it was.
That's
like,
how the Pirates started getting good.
Yeah, that was. Yeah,
Well,
They
were like-
win all their games
Yeah.
against the Astros.
They were like the team that did like the tank. They were
Yeah,
like the tank, and we're
exactly.
gonna get Carlos
Like, 'cause
Correa, and we're gonna really build this up.
I mean, in 2013, like I remember whenever Dallas Keuchel, he wasn't even good. Like he had an ERA over 5, and no one knew he'd be a Cy Young winner eventually. But yeah, like I just remember that happening, and then them being really good like a few years later, and it's like wow, this is so cool. Like them and the Cubs were that was like they were both like the worst team in the AL and the NL, and then like 4 years later, they're like some of the best teams in both leagues. But no, it's just a weird thing to see because like you know that if the Astros make the playoffs, they have that playoff experience, but at the same time, they don't have any momentum. And I always talk about the momentum thing, and that's real. And sometimes you could have all the experience, but if you have such a poor end to the season, it doesn't matter. Like. Look at, I mean, this is a different sport, but look at the Eagles whenever they were first round exits against the Bucks. I mean, they made to the Super Bowl the year before, and then they sort of have a collapse at the end of the year, and that's what causes a first round exit, even though they have all the playoff experience. So you look at the Astros, even if they make it, I just don't feel confident that they'll win a series. So.
Yeah, the Astros. I mean, we were talking about. I mean, they had that division lead for so long, but they were always like they were just in their rotation. Like Lance McCullers was always hurt. I don't even know if they still have Luis Garcia.
He's been injured. Like
he's been hurt. Or I
crazy.
think Urquidy they had, and then he's the one with Detroit, I think, but he's hurt.
Yeah.
And Christian Javier was hurt all season. There was just a lot of things that needed to go right. And their bullpen, outside of Abreu and Hader, was very questionable as well. And their offense, honestly, we haven't seen this with the Astros where they're just playing. It's a lot of Jake Myers, it was a lot of Chas McCormick. And they had to bring up some guys because Yordan Alvarez has been out so long. And obviously trading Kyle Tucker. And Christian Walker hasn't been that guy this year for them as well. It's just been, you knew they weren't like an elite team, but you were like, well, maybe if they get Alvarez back, they could really turn, and Walker could take that next step.
That really hurt them, not having Alvarez. And I think he got hurt again. And then Isaac Paredes, who is arguably their best hitter, he got hurt for an extended amount of time. I think he's back. So and no one talks about their shortstop. Is he healthy?
Pena, he was hurt for.
Yeah.
He was.
So they've had a lot of injuries too.
That's why I feel like the Astros, like I know eventually they'll get through a rebuild, but I think they're gonna wait until the first half of next year just to see. And if things don't work out, I definitely see them being big time sellers. But like I feel like they'll still give it a shot because of the injuries.
Correa, we got Correa back
But
again.
they have some
Feeling
young
good.
pieces. I mean, that Kyle Tucker trade, getting that Cam Smith, he looked. I don't know how he's been in the second half, but he looked kind of good.
He's decent, but like there's still so
Yeah.
much room for growth. Like he got drafted last year. Like people forget that, and he's been like it's hard to be solid while you got drafted the year before as an offensive player. Like pitching might be a different story, but
And we're seeing more of that. The Nolan Schaunwells, Zach Neto, excuse me. It's all the ALS players. Who's the guy?
It's all the Angels players.
And then but the guy for the A's, Nick Kurtz.
well, Shandy, he got called up the year he was drafted. It wasn't even the season after. Like that's the crazy
because
thing.
the A's it was a
And
playoff.
he's a very solid player.
And then they proceeded to lose like every game.
Well, and then they had to DFA like Giolito.
they
and
claimed them off
Grichuk
waivers, and then they.
Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, that was a whole because they want to win.
That was just so funny
though.
though. It was like sad, but it was like so funny because it was like we're going all in with Ohtani because this might be the last year. Maybe we convince him to stay. And they just proceeded to lose like every game right after the deadline.
Yeah,
So I know I want to flip a little bit to the Mariners because I know you're bought into the Mariners. And
I was bought in
I
after
am
the
as
trade
well.
deadline too.
Are you bought into
I
the
am very
Mariners?
bought in on the
Because
Mariners, yeah.
this AL is just so wide open again. It's just not very top heavy. And there's a lot of holes of all these teams. And like
They could be the one
obviously
seed.
the Yankees, and Toronto, I think, deserve their respect. Now, whoever wins that division is maybe the 1 seed, or maybe it will be
Seattle's
Seattle.
a game back of both of those teams.
So we'll see. It'll depend on some seeding. I mean, if you have home field
the
advantage
Yankees
throughout, I forget. like the
Yeah.
Orioles, maybe.
I think
I
they do
think
play
it is.
division.
Yeah, I think it's the Orioles.
But who gets that number 1 seed and that home field advantage, that's going to be very important, I think. So that's something to watch this weekend among the other things that are happening.
And I hope that there's teams that don't complain about that, because I remember whenever the Braves had that historically great offensive season like 2 years ago and they lost in the divisional round because they blamed it on the bye. It's like, you could literally
it's not that long of a bye.
And
it's like the All-Star break.
Exactly. And not only
But
that,
maybe less.
And not only that, but you literally get to go to the next round for free. Like, all these other teams have to like play a series to get there, and you're there for free. Like, you should be grateful to that.
But we have seen momentum is a thing. These teams that get hot, like a Cleveland.
Yeah.
Like to me, Cleveland. We talk about how they don't look that on paper, they're not that great, but momentum is a thing. If they go in, win that division, or just make the playoffs, and then they win a wild card round, I wouldn't want to face them in a 5-game series.
Well, I mean, yeah, especially like if you're the Blue Jays, like if you lose that division and then you got to play the wild card, you got to go to Cleveland to play the wild card series.
Baseball is a game of momentum and a game of when you're hot and you're going, you don't want to stop. And so some of these teams that like the Mariners, Toronto, Yankees that have 9 and they're playing great ball, if they have those 4 days off, it's like it's hard to come back.
That is true, yeah.
So that's where they have to look out. That's where you have to be on the lookout.
It wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world for the AL Championship Series to be Mariners against the Guardians. Like, I think that's a very I still feel like people are sleeping on the Yankees a little bit because no one's talking about them with what Cleveland's doing, what Seattle's doing, like stuff like that. But
yeah, I mean the Yankees, they have clear holes, but in this AL, it's like, and their bullpen's been much better. The key for them is Aaron Judge. We can't have him having a bad. I mean, they made the World Series last year. He did nothing in the playoffs, and they won't be able to do that again because they don't have a Juan Soto. Now Stanton has been excellent, but
I feel like their depth this year is better a little bit. That'll be the question. Like, can Jazz Chisholm perform? Can Cody Bellinger kind of provide some relief in the case that Aaron Judge might not play well?
Like these little pickups they got, McMahon.
Ben Rice is going to hit like a great home run.
Caballero leads the league in stolen bases.
Yeah,
That's
he's
a
been
big
taking
deal.
reps off Volpe and shortstop as well, and he's actually been a pretty solid offensive player for the Yankees. Like Rays, he wasn't. He just had.
I mean, he can get on base and steal bases.
Yeah, like
that matters.
That was his value, and now he's. At the time I checked, like maybe a couple of days ago, he's hitting like 270. So like that's you would love to have him hit 270.
What if Ryan McMahon has a good playoffs? Like he's a solid player that hasn't performed well.
Yeah, you have to forget what players in the regular season come playoff time. You just have to look at what their pedigree is, and at the end of the day, if they have the experience in the playoffs, like that's also a big thing.
I think if you're our friend Brian Cashman, you got to be feeling pretty good about the spot you're in, but you got to clinch that division first.
I think them and Seattle are like the most talented teams, honestly, like in the AL now. But like if the Yankees, like if I'm the Yankees, I don't want to play Seattle. Anybody want to be just because of their pitching. I mean, they're 5 deep and it's relentless. And so we'll see with that. But yeah, I do think to the point about nobody really talking about the Yankees. I don't think anybody's really talking about the AL representative at all, like in the World Series, just because Cleveland, because Cleveland's been on such a tear. Houston collapsing, Detroit collapsing.
Everyone was saying Detroit, like putting them in that spot. Now you can't say that anymore.
I think in general, like even in the NL, like it hasn't even been like too much of a conversation about what's going to happen in the playoffs, just because there's so much uncertainty now. With the NL, it's just one spot you're looking at. You're like, who's going to be that final? So we've been talking Brewers, Phillies. Could the Dodgers actually perform in the playoffs? Yeah, even though they've struggled this season a little bit. Padres.
I think if they could get past the Cubs, I think the Padres. I say this every year, but I think the Padres can beat anybody. I really believe that with their pitching.
They're just
and they have stars. I mean, Tatis hasn't had the best year, I don't think, but like that guy knows how to play in the big.
Well,
games.
imagine him hitting a big homer in the playoffs or something at Petco.
Like Padres, they're a weird team. Like it always feels like there's not like crazy turnover, but like they just add or give up. Like it's just these crazy things that happen, and they just always are just hovering around the same spot. Like, it's like a weird thing, but like it's still a team to root for because they don't have a.
You want to talk about bullpens? They got all sorts of arms.
That's like if they can perform well in the playoffs, that could very well decide a lot.
But it's about getting that lead first because their offense has just not been what it should be this season. It
feels
weird.
like that's the case with a lot of these teams too. It's like weird. Like I don't know if it's like one of those seasons where, but then you look at it like, oh, it might be one of those seasons where no one's hitting, but then you see Kyle Raleigh and Kyle Schwarber and Aaron Judge just destroying the baseball. So maybe it's just. I don't know. I don't know what's up. It's like a weird season.
All right. Well, we're going to have a little bit of a big transition here.
Yeah,
we're going to talk some football.
We'll talk more baseball probably next week, like playoff preview.
When we record next week, the wild card series will probably be over.
Right, yeah.
That's what's crazy about it. And we don't know, but we can't really predict much because we don't know exactly these matchups yet.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's how crazy it is right now. But I want to talk about week 3 of the NFL, week 4 coming up. We're getting to the quarter-way point, a long way to go, a lot of games to be played. Where do we want to start? Do we want to start with the Steelers in Ireland?
No, week 3.
Vikings?
We're reviewing week 3.
Well, right, yeah, okay, but like just the Steelers in general, I don't know.
I want to talk about the Lions-Ravens game first.
Let's do it.
Because I think that was just a great game, and we thought it could be, but I think there were questions about the Lions going into this game for sure.
Very strongly.
Just because they blew out the Bears, but it was like you were still like, the Bears. The
Packers dominated the Lions.
Yeah, and they got completely owned, and we were like, are these coordinators are they up to the task? And their game plan was excellent against that Ravens defense. Jared Goff was getting it out quick, and they were, what's his name for the Ravens was out, the pass rusher. I always forget his name.
Kyle Van Noy? Kyle Van Noy?
What's his name? It's like Ezra Rock. It's not Ezra Rock.
Is it interior line?
Is it Matabike?
Yeah, I think he's an interior guy though, right?
He might be, but he always gets a lot of sacks. But he was out, so it was a little easier. But the Lions did great. They just pounded the rock. They ran the ball great. David Montgomery was great.
Yeah.
He had that big run, obviously, but he was very elusive. Jahmyr Gibbs is obviously incredibly talented. He's a great player. And Amon-Ra St. Brown stepped up. He's a really good receiver, and Jared Goff was able to get it to him a lot. But I was so impressed with the Lions' defense. It was all night. It was constant pressure on Lamar Jackson, and you don't see that with the Ravens' O-line. They're just always so well structured. Their O-line's always so well protecting the quarterback, and Lamar. And some of that too is Lamar is so good at escaping and everything, but they just plugged all the gaps. I'm drawing a blank on the Lions edge rusher's name too, but he was great in this game.
Michigan.
No, not him. The other edge rusher. He was great. I think his name. I can't remember. But he had like 2 sacks. Their interior D line was excellent. They got how many sacks? They got like 6. They got like 6 or 7 or something. I think it was crazy. And they were just able to stop Derrick Henry after that first drive was really put in neutral, and obviously had that fumble, which is becoming a recurring issue now, which is kind of crazy. He's never been somebody who fumbles. He's always protected the football. He's such a big, well-built guy. And some of them were like weird, like the one, the fumble he had against Detroit. The guy he was running to Lamar, and he was coming from behind on Derrick Henry, and he punched it out. He didn't see him there. But it's just crazy how that's happening.
How about Derrick Henry? He had like 3 fumbles the last 2 years or something, and he has 3 fumbles in 3 weeks.
But the Ravens now, it's very concerning about their defense.
It 100% is.
And now again, they were missing a couple guys, but still, like that, they got owned by Buffalo, especially late. Buffalo did whatever they wanted late, and that's how the comeback happened.
I think injuries is a big part of it, because last year, coming into this season, we were like, the sky's the limit for this defense, because they started off bad last year and got better as the season went along. And you're thinking they're going to start off really well. Well, maybe it's just going to be the same thing this year. They're just missing some guys. But this D coordinator, he was new. People were on him last year, and then he got things together. If he doesn't get things together again, with the way Lamar Jackson is playing out of this world, he's not the issue. And they're not, they're 1-2. And, that Chiefs game this weekend, it's not a guarantee. I know the Chiefs don't look great, but they've had some tough losses to some good teams. So, and the Ravens, I mean, in these big games, I think it's a big game issue for the Ravens at this point. I mean, and that starts with John Harbaugh and Lamar. I know Lamar plays great, but sometimes I see bad body language from Lamar. Like, things aren't always going to go your way in these big games. You have to keep a level head, and I think it's a cultural issue with the Ravens at this point because they just have these collapses and these chokes in the big moments.
I kind of want to talk about the Lions a little bit because it's kind of cool how like the personnel they grab. Like I know like losing the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, we all have questions, but like at the end of the day, they just invest on these guys that either do very well in interviews, like very like humble, like very like you like their mindset, or they'll invest in like underdogs. Like I'm sure Amon-Ra St. Brown, it still makes him mad about all the receivers that were drafted before him, but he plays out of this world. And I would, if the Lions didn't have such a good running back tandem, I have no doubt that they would have drafted Cam Scatterby because he would just fit that Dan Campbell Lions team very well. But it's just the personnel they grab. Like they just, no matter what people say about them, they just are out there to prove you wrong. Like that's what Dan Campbell's all about, and it's just really cool seeing how this culture change is so significant. And it's something a lot of teams just fail to develop because it seems like a lot of these teams don't really care about what these guys' mindsets are. Like you could have all the talent in the world, but if you're just not you're not focused on any of these games, it doesn't matter at all. You're just not going to win. They grab winners, and it's a really cool thing to see them perform very well like this. So.
Yeah, Al-Qadim Muhammad, that's the guy. I was trying to remember his name. He was been like a journeyman NFL player. Played 9 games for Detroit last year.
Yeah, I kept hearing Muhammad. I'm like, who's
Yeah,
this
Muhammad.
guy?
Yeah, it was Muhammad. I was trying to remember his name, but he had 2.5 sacks against the Ravens, and he was and he was in the run defense too. He was all over the place. So they're I think they're going to be okay. I think the Lions are going to be okay.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think right now it's going to be a dogfight between them and the Packers for that division, and that was a soul-crushing loss for the Pack. I know he loves this.
No.
Okay. Well, we don't like the Browns winning, but I mean the Packers look like the best team in football, and you're going to Cleveland. I mean, they didn't do anything offensively. They're still up 10-0 with 3 minutes to go. You force them to kick a field goal, and that's the thing with Jordan Love. Like he's kind of Favre-ish. And then he just throws these stupid picks, like sometimes. Like he has all the talent in the world. He makes a bunch of big plays. He doesn't have the greatest receiving core, but he just makes and that cost them. Now they got I mean, it was crazy all the field goal blocks we had this week. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that. There's always something crazy that happens every week. So that was a little fluky, but we have to. As Steelers fans, we have to be very fearful of this Browns defense, specifically their defensive front. I mean, what they did to the Packers.
Myles Garrett was flying all over the place.
Myles Garrett, I mean, he's
better than Watt right now.
He's much better. He's much better than most, right? I mean, you could argue he's the best.
I mean,
right
I
now.
remember whenever I was telling people, like, I don't think it was the worst thing in the world that Garrett won Defensive Player of the Year, and everyone's like, no, Watt, all this stuff. I'm like, look, like he in my opinion, single-handedly made that defense so good where they became a playoff team. Like no one thought the Browns were going to be a playoff team with 4 different quarterbacks. Like he really just was so good.
I mean, the Browns do have guys, though. I mean, their D-line has always been decent. You know, you have Denzel Ward on the outside. I always thought their defensive coordinator has always been, I forget his name, but he's always been pretty solid. Joe Flacco was so bad in this game, but they found a way. But for the Ravens, that's a huge swing in that division. Nobody thought the Lions were going to win that game, and nobody thought the Packers would lose. And even though they lost to the Packers, it's like that game is kind of thrown out the window.
The Steelers control their own destiny in the AFC North. Do you want to talk about the Steelers?
A little bit. I do want to say the Lions. What impressed me is Pat McAfee said this. They went out in there and punched Baltimore in the mouth physically. And you don't see teams do that. Yeah. I mean, their offensive line, they lost some guys, and I mean, they dominated that Baltimore defensive
And they were
front.
so bad in week 1.
And John Morgan, it was kind of like, I mean, this guy's been a bounce around the league kind of guy, never been a coordinator. But you're like, okay, he's coached under Sean Payton. Like, there's maybe something to like there, but like, I mean, it kind of felt like at times Ben Johnson was the coordinator, and
Oh, yeah.
and Dan Campbell going for it on fourth down. That's not a surprise, but especially at the end of the game, that gutsy call, Amon-Ra St. Brown, it was a great route, but that had to have the perfect touch by Jared Goff. When Jared Goff has time, he's one of the best pocket quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, he's extremely talented. Like it's like it should be less shocking that he turned it around with the Lions. Like a lot of people just looked at his last season with the Rams as like, oh, this and that, but like people forget what he was a couple of years before that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and also you mentioned John Morgan. I also want to mention Kelvin Shepard. I didn't even know he's the D coordinator. I didn't know who the coordinators were for the most part.
He was fired up on that sideline.
Well, he was. There was some great like masking of like defensive coverages that he was doing stuff we see Brian Flores doing. Like he came to play like in his game plan, and he was fired up. And I always liked him as a player. Like. Especially like with the Giants at the end, I was just like, he's a solid player. But he was fired up on the sideline. He's a good dude, so that was great to see. But yeah, the Steelers. We're not gonna talk too much about the Patriots game. I mean, it was just fluky, really fluky game.
I mean, that's a game it could have lost by 2 touchdowns.
And it was a game that kind of reminded you of like both 2 or 3 years ago, like just that type of game where it was just like a lot of craziness. But
you got to give the Steelers defense. I mean, this is what Tomlin does with his defense. They go after the ball, and this New England team, Ramondre Stevenson, very prone to fumbles. And of course, it was right like when they were about to score a touchdown the one time with Ramondre. I mean, it happened twice.
And then the pick in the end zone.
But that was because Cam Hayward got a hand on the ball. I mean,
if we can't cover him, so let's just punch at the ball.
That's all they can do, really. That's our big issue. And we still see the same issues. The middle linebackers can't cover anybody. The secondary was flawed. The good news is Steelers are getting Deshaun Elliott back this week.
Oh, are they?
Yes, he was a full participant in practice.
Oh wow, I didn't even. That's early. They were saying like 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah,
that was 2 weeks.
That's a big get for the Steelers this week.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That'll be a big help. But I thought the secondary was, for the most part, pretty okay, other than the couple plays. Obviously, the 20-yard 3rd and 13 or 3rd and 12 play.
But I mean, when you don't have any pressure from your front four, and we have to give some credit. We saw some more pressure this week. Now, some of that was on blitzes, but I saw T.J. Watt finally showed up. But like with the amount of money that's invested in that front four, you want to see more consistent pressure with the front four. So. Yeah,
it was just this team. I mean, we were talking about this. When you get 5 turnovers, the really good teams, they win by 3-4 scores. So we saw Minnesota got 5 turnovers against the Bengals. They won by 38. I'm not asking the Steelers to win by 38 against the Patriots there, but there were so many like momentum shifts where you figure, okay, now the offense is going to cook a little bit. Momentum's on the Steelers side. Huge turn of events. And they scored, I think it was 2 touchdowns were off of turnovers. So, and the other times it was like 3 and out, and the other one was heavily aided by the pass interference penalty, and they didn't do anything. They had 3 and out after that penalty. So, really underwhelming. And now you pivot from playing a Patriots defense that is pretty solid, but now with this hampered O-line, not even hampered, but just underperforming offensive line, you're going to play a front 7 that's really good for Minnesota and that has really good corners and a really good defensive coordinator, obviously, in Brian Flores, who's going to want to get back at the Steelers probably for maybe not having him as their head coach now. I mean, I was saying like I would have rather had Brian Flores because I've been saying I want Tomlin fired for 5 years now, but he was just so good. And he's obviously a head coach material. He was really solid in Miami, and there was really stupid stuff that happened that led to him getting looking for a job. But it'll be really tough this week for the Steelers, especially like it just was not a good performance at all, and you were very fortunate to come out with a win.
I thought from the offensive perspective, Jaylen Warren in the first half, I mean, those first 2 drives, when we were on script, we've been good on script this year. But then after that, it gets... And I thought Jaylen Warren had some really good cuts. I mean, and he got 80% of the snaps. I like that. We got to continue with that. He had like under 60% the first 2 weeks, and last week he had 80% of the snaps. But I mean, his overall number, I thought he played better than his rushing totals
Yeah.
suggested.
And you look at his stats, and he's on the season, he's only averaging like a little over 3 yards per carry. But the stats don't tell the whole thing. And if you want to look at the stats, he's the leading receiver on the Steelers. Like he's such a dynamic weapon for them. And you just watch
and they're going to have to check down this weekend because the pressure is going to be coming at Aaron. I mean, it's going to have to be a Jalen Warren game this Sunday. We talked about this.
Yeah.
You have to be able to have him in the pass game, and they have to get some sort of run game going. And they got to control the time of possession too.
And a quarterback like Rodgers, who's very, very much willing to just take the loss and dump it off to the running back. And Warren, he always finesses a first down. Like it's not like Le'Veon Bell where he does it a different way. But like Warren, it's just like I mentioned on this podcast before, he's very Isaiah Pacheco like he's like it's really crazy how similar both of them are. But Warren might not put up the season that Pacheco would because Pacheco's
actually been bad.
He's booked right now.
Well, but like now,
before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And now Warren is playing a much bigger role because you don't have Najee Harris. So, I mean, we'll see. Like I
tough
still
for
think,
Najee too.
Yeah.
James
him
Conner.
and James Conner, man.
Yeah. And
that's just awful.
Yeah. As much as you wanted to see both of them perform better as Steelers, like it's still like you still like them. They're still good people.
Yeah.
And I still wish the
James
Steelers
Conner
had
should have. I mean, I think he's proved the Steelers wrong for letting him go. Absolutely.
He 100% did. But yeah, it's just like those are tough situations. And obviously, Pitt fans, we all love James Conner, and that's a devastating thing. So.
Yeah, no, I think it was a very fluky win. They need to improve in basically all areas except turnovers because they got so many. They're going to need 5 turnovers to beat the Vikings this week, I think.
And Carson Wentz, they have to force second and third and longs because Carson Wentz can be a rat.
And get pressure. They have to constantly get pressure, which is going to be tough.
But Carson Wentz he's been with the best offensive coaches the last few years. I've always liked his talent. I know he's a little older now, but I think Carson Wentz, they could get a playoff spot. If Carson Wentz was their quarterback the rest of the year, I wouldn't have a problem with that if I was a Vikings fan.
Yeah, that would be it's like crazy, like just all these like early first round quarterbacks. Like if that were to happen, that they would just like salvage like their career. That's like kind of funny, but like I do root for Wentz. Like I feel bad about the whole injury thing, and
it would be a bad look for JJ McCarthy. But like if they're winning games with Carson Wentz, and we know how JJ McCarthy look, what are you gonna do?
We're not bought into JJ, you know.
Right, exactly.
Anyway. So yeah, I mean it wouldn't surprise me if Carson Wentz played better than him. Honestly, they looked better last week. I tell you that. But J.J. McCarthy, he had that fourth quarter
Carson
against
didn't
the
have
Bears,
to do much
where
of
he wasn't
anything.
really good.
Carson Wentz didn't have to do much of anything in that last game,
right.
so we'll see.
But he made some decent throws, you know. But yeah, he was handed 2 pick sixes and a very big lead anyway. But yeah, it's gonna be tough because that defense is a ball hawk defense too with the Vikings. These are 2 defenses that are very much into getting turnovers and applying pressure. So it could, if the Steelers defense doesn't come to play, it could be a splattering in Dublin as Steeler fans are chugging. They're gonna.
Dan Rooney turns over in his grave. I mean, that's why the Steelers were playing in Ireland, because of Dan Rooney and him being an ambassador there and all that.
And the Rooneys are very Irish.
Right, right. So this is a big deal to the Rooneys, I think, this game.
That's unfortunate for them because it's gonna be.
He's
really,
banking. It's your lock of the week. Spoiler.
But if the Steelers win, it'd be like, oh, that's nice, you know. But I'm gonna be like Vikings. I need locks. I need some of these locks to hit.
Yeah, check out our YouTube Shorts page. We have all of our picks in there every single week. Jake Bell, anything else to add about the Steelers?
I don't think too much. Like it's just, to me, like you guys mentioned, like Rodgers, I think he has to get the ball out quick. I feel like the Vikings will bring a lot of blitz packages that, with knowing the Steelers' offensive line, knowing the strength of the Vikings' defense and what Brian Flores wants to do, I think that's going to be the biggest question mark. But if you find your receivers like in the middle of the field, I feel like that could very well be the way to go. I think that's where you might get a lot of open receivers. Just like I feel like if you're throwing sideline to sideline, you know, Rodgers, like if he gets pressured and the cornerback jumps a route, like that could be interesting. But I feel like if you keep in the middle of the field and trust your check down, I think that's where you can get the most out of the Steelers offense. So
all right, I'm going to end the episode with this. We didn't talk about doing this. Who are we most in the league are we most concerned about right now? Like a team that
had expectations
and we're most concerned about.
I was going to say the Dolphins, but we were all low.
Yeah, right.
That's a good question. I honestly don't. We gotta come back to me. I gotta think
I
about
think I have one. I know, like, last year it kind of seemed like this could be the case, but I still had expectations for them, and that's the Texans.
Right.
It's just because, like, you figured that C.J. Stroud would bounce back after, like, I guess you can call a sophomore slump. They still won a playoff game, but anyway, like, you thought that maybe they would just have like a better, like probably 1 or 2 more wins better than last year. It's probably not going to be the case unless they go on some kind of run. But you just figured you figured they would. It was just a whole like just sophomore thing. You figured they like Stroud would have a much better year, and it hasn't happened.
Their offensive line made the Jaguars. Their offensive line is the worst in football. We talk about the Steelers having not a great offensive line, but oh my gosh, the Texans. It's bad. I mean, I know people are knocking on C.J. Stroud, but like he's a young quarterback. You got to have a good protection.
Yeah.
And you got to have a run. I mean, Nick Chubb. I mean, they have no run game. C.J. Stroud has no support at all, other than Nico Collins. He has no support, and I don't know why they got rid of their offensive coordinator. Was that from this past year, right? When was that 2 year? Wait, I'm confusing my years, but
I remember.
His name?
I forget, but I remember whenever he got fired, I'm like, Steelers. Like, I know you just got Arthur Smith, but like maybe make the call because like
I don't know who their offensive coordinator is. But nothing's working right now.
Yeah.
It's a mess. It's a mess in Houston. Who has exceeded your expectations this year so far?
Okay, it was Bobby Slowick.
Bobby Slowick for the Texans.
Yeah, he was the
that's what I
QB
thought it
coach,
was.
and I think he got promoted, right, or something like that.
Yeah,
I was like, because whenever he was the QB coach, before Arthur Smith was hired, I was like, Steelers, like he helped Stroud become a very good rookie quarterback. Like
Who's
maybe
their coordinator now?
I guess where Bobby Slowick is now. He's the senior passing game coordinator for the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, really? Well, I mean, to be fair,
that's not
like,
a resume booster.
Yeah,
that's
it's not.
for sure.
But like, yeah.
Who is it now? Let me check who is now.
But you said team that like surprised you the most. Ooh.
Yeah.
Got to be the Colts right now.
I'd say the Colts. I guess you can somewhat say the Chargers because they look like they're the best team in the AFC right now.
I'm going to say this. To me right now, the Chargers, to me, look like the best team in football.
Honestly, and that
for
could
them
be a
to
shock.
handle their division like that 3 weeks in a row and to take control.
You're right.
That is impressive.
It is very impressive. Like Jim Harbaugh, like imagine the Steelers had him right now. We'd be having a whole different outlook. Like honestly, like
where do the Chargers have a hole right now? I mean, obviously it would be great if they had their left tackle, but Joe Alt moving over there.
I think run game would be is a concern
right
now.
With Hampton, with Najee, but I think
even if it was concerned with them because they weren't.
But
running
you have
the ball.
Justin Herbert and these weapons. I mean, Christian Johnson playing like he is. I mean, they're just throwing the ball all around the yard. If Hampton can be above average, like I think they're fine. And then this defense, I mean, they're missing Khalil Mack. Hopefully he comes back soon. But man, oh man, I mean, if they win this division, I mean, the sky's the limit for them.
Absolutely,
really.
yeah.
That's just so impressive.
Yeah, they look incredible, and it's like I really hope that Herbert can figure out in the playoffs because he can adapt so well. Like if you have to go more pass heavy because of these running backs, like he does a great job. It like last year, whenever they had him do like much less than he used to offensively, he still was not turning the ball over. Like he's just someone that can adapt very well to whatever the game plan offensively is, depending on what the strengths of the team are. But the receivers have been playing pretty well so far. So I mean, I really like Herbert a lot. I always have, and I just hope he figures out in the playoffs because if he does, I mean, the Chargers are going to be the team to beat, really. So
I think another team we have to mention comes to mind is the Atlanta Falcons as a disappointment.
Yeah.
I gotta say my disappointment team.
They had the fluky win against the Vikings because J.J. McCarthy.
And they were just field goal city. They were just field goal.
I mean, that game they just classic Atlanta lost that game to Tampa Bay. It took them 2 down to go situations to score, and then they miss a 44-yard. It's just classic Atlanta right now, and they need to win this game against the Commanders. I mean, no Jaden Daniels, no Terry McLaurin this week. Like they got it bad, but you lost by 30 to Carolina. I mean,
that's why I stayed away from that game.
Are we concerned about Michael Penix?
A little, yeah.
I mean,
you gotta be a little
or maybe he just
concerned.
needs more reps. I don't know, but like, because we thought like he was going to be good, and like the first game he was good, and ever since he's just been kind of like,
Or
I don't know.
Raheem Morris. It was. Fun.
I'm not high on Raheem Morris. I got to be
He was,
honest.
Somebody asked him as one of his press conferences, probably like the weekly press conference, is there any concern about Michael Penix? And they were like, have you thought about Kirk Cousins at all? And he was like, we haven't thought about Kirk Cousins. This is Michael Penix's team.
The only thing they're trying to get rid of
he's
Kirk
like,
Cousins
they're
somehow.
concerned. Yeah. I feel bad for. I mean, Kirk Cousins. Like he could with some of these quarterback situations. Like he could start somewhere. I know it was so bad last year.
I agree. He definitely starts somewhere.
But yeah, you have to be concerned with the Falcons because like that. Like you can't lose 30-0 to the Carolina Panthers
under any circumstance.
when you outgain them, but it was crazy. They didn't get beyond the 30-yard line all game. Like
Wow.
they didn't get anywhere near the red zone all game. Like they weren't even a threat to score, even though they outgained the Panthers. And it wasn't like the Panthers didn't even play well. Like, the Landers had just crazy turnovers, and just it was just a really awful performance. You got to be concerned. I want to say I think the whole AFC West, other than the Chargers, has been disappointing. I mean, the Broncos have been really bad defensively and late in these games. The Colts game, they kind of blew that game, although they probably should have won anyway. There was some fluky stuff that happened at the end for the Colts. And then the Chargers game, they were controlling that game, and then the defense kind of had some lapses a little bit. There's some injuries. Patrick Surtain's injured.
I mean, the Broncos, that was a good spot for them. They should have won that game.
Yeah.
And the Chargers just are finding ways. They just have the mojo right now.
But also, you talk about the Chiefs, obviously. Now, the Chiefs is a little less, actually, because they could start 1-3, but I was thinking, they could start rough anyway. Just because, the Chargers game we thought was kind of a toss-up anyway. We thought the Chargers were improved.
This Ravens-Chiefs game, I can't get over that
Obviously,
game. That's going to be such an interesting game this weekend.
obviously, and then playing the Eagles
It's a
and the
big
Ravens.
game. Like, you wouldn't think, but now it's like a big game for both teams because they you lose and you're in a really tough spot.
Well, what if the Chiefs go 1-3, the Chargers are probably going to be 4-0, beating the Giants. That division could be almost not even, I don't want to say sealed because I think Denver still has a chance, but it could be really the Chiefs might have to really hope for a wild card because this division already. And also I want to mention the Raiders too because we didn't have crazy high expectations for the Raiders, but they look just like they've looked in the past few years.
Geno Smith, though they lost bad, but he looked good the last game against Washington.
I'm saying
I think
mostly
they're an 8-9
defensively.
win team, and I feel like that's kind of what they've looked like.
I don't think at this point they're an 8-9 win. The way they've been, the Chargers
they
completely
hung
owned
around,
them.
but they hung around though. They hung around. Geno Smith missed some throws in that game. I think
we'll see this weekend. I think with the Bears,
this is a big game. They have to win this game. That's a big game for both teams.
Yeah, it is.
But I like I like the Raiders to win this week. I think they're gonna.
Same here.
Yeah.
I disagree vehemently. No, I really don't know about that game, but I picked the Bears, so I guess I gotta root for them. So.
All right. Well.
Oh, and I want to say some. I want to say
more.
a good. I want to say some teams that have played good so far that I'm.
Get a good report. A check
kind of
mark.
impressed with. I gotta say the Packers. I really do. I have to give props because
despite this past week.
Despite this past week, because I was very low on them. Apparently, that's what I'm hearing. and they play really well the first 2 weeks. Got to beat the Cowboys. Can't lose to the Cowboys. I don't think they will. I think they probably will. But I got to mention Seattle.
Yes.
I think Seattle's been a team
that was
that's
my
really
team.
impressed.
I had the only one here had them in the playoffs.
But I had them
right.
I had them right. I had every team right there in the NFC West.
That's not close enough.
I had them 9-8. I had them 9-8 and they missed or something. But yeah, Sam Darnold's look really good. Some people are saying he's elite. I don't think he's elite quite yet. But I like their team. Their defense is really good. Now, they had some lapses against Arizona.
My only problem with Seattle right now that's driving me nuts.
Defense, of course.
Bro, these defensive coaches, I think Mike McDonald's one of the better defensive minds in the game. He's good on his side of the ball. But he needs to be more aggressive. You're killing Arizona in every aspect of the game, and you let them hang around. I remember early in the third quarter, they had that opening drive. They could have had a chance to go up 21-3. It's 4th and 2. Go for it. Go for it. And this Jacoby Myers, I saw him in person at Heinz Field. Not Jacoby. What's his name? Who's the kicker's name for Seattle?
Jason Myers.
Jason Myers. He's not automatic, folks. He missed a 52-yarder in a
Far
dome
from
last
automatic.
night, and he hit
Almost
a
missed the
terrible
other
kick.
one.
He did, and he hit a terrible kick at Heinz. He's very hit or miss. But like so they're moving up and down that drive, they were moving up the field like it was moving down the field like it was nothing. And it's 4th and 2. Go for it. Arizona's not doing anything against you. Go for it. And instead, they kicked the field goal. Now, he made that one, but it's still a 2-score game anyway. And then they make that big play to Amon-Ra. Jackson Smith-Njigba, right? And they think, the game's sealed. And they just run the ball 3 straight times. Like, Clint Kubiak, I like him, but I think he's a little conservative too. Like, let Sam Darnold sling it, and please let Kenneth Walker get a majority of the carries. Now, I'm a little biased.
Charbonnet wasn't terrible. I mean,
Kenneth Walker he's the much bigger, much more physical back. There's just some weird things. Like it's like they have to keep the game close. Like, and then against San Francisco, they lost that game. There was a 4th and 1. They decided to kick a field goal. That ended up costing them the game. Like, I just want to see some more aggression. Like, you have the pieces on off. This team is pretty complete. Like, let's be aggressive here a little more. That's my only big issue.
I agree. But Seattle's one of those teams that has played really well. But I mean, Mike McDonald, you can't fault him here. Like, when Arizona was on the field, he brought the blitz. Like, he was bringing the blitz constantly.
Oh yeah.
Kyler Murray just made some really quick decisions, which we hadn't seen all game, and frankly, we haven't seen very much in his career consistently. And he was getting it to that back. I don't even what's that running back's name? He got the touchdown to tie it. He's like,
it's a weird name.
I've never heard of him before, but
I forget who you're talking about. But
it starts with an E, like in Camardi.
Something like that. But that one, did you guys see that throw? That it was a 4th down to Mac Wilson.
Yeah, he turned around.
He turned around and the ball's
that
right
was
there. And it was a
incredible.
great catch, and it was like out. He had to like stretch out. That was incredible, like with the game on the line. But yeah, just Arizona, they're just always the same team. They're just always just a notch, just not that quite there.
Kyler Murray, again, he's talented, but not talented enough to overcome a lack of leadership. That's my issue with him. I mean, you see him on the sideline. Like, you see these big franchise quarterbacks, these big-time quarterbacks, Burrow, Allen, I mean, all of them. They're always going up and down the sideline talking to their guys. What does Kyler Murray do? At least this is what I see. He goes to the sideline, sits down, looks at his pad, and just sits there and waits for him to come on the field. Like, there's no leadership. There's just no. And Kirk Herbstreit was saying this in so many words last night. He just doesn't give the team the same juice that these other quarterbacks do. They don't. The guys around him should want to be motivated to play for him, and I just don't think that's the case. Yeah. Now, Arizona's defense, credit to Jonathan Gannon, but I just don't think they have the leadership on offense that's required. Yeah, and especially in this division.
And Murray's one of those cases where, like, he is so talented. Like, he's a very athletic individual. Like,
his arm is not.
It's not great. But he can use that athleticism well. It's just like you have questions about like his persona. Like he like this is a little off topic, but he grew up being the guy everywhere he went. Like he never at all went through that struggle.
Adversity.
Exactly. Adversity is a big thing for quarterbacks. Like, you look at the best quarterbacks in the NFL, like Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson. These guys weren't studs. Like, they were obviously very good at high school.
They went through their problems.
Yeah, exactly. They weren't these 5-star recruits that got everything.
And they didn't play for Alabama or Ohio State. No. They played for 7-5 teams.
Right. And then Murray, like, I just don't know if he knows how to be a leader, because what separates you from, every other quarterback is how well you can lead your team, how much these guys rally around you. If Kyler Murray can't do that same thing, it does not matter how talented he is. The quarterback position is such an important position. Yeah, it's a team game. At the end of the day, you're the one that has to be the leader. And if Kyler Murray, you can't rely on Kyler Murray to be that. No matter what he does this year, even if he makes the playoffs, they'll probably get 3 first-round exits. I just don't know if there's much of a future with him after this year.
I have to give you credit, Jake Bell, because you've been on this and I've always been kind of like about it. Like, I always thought talent. I still believe that talent is the most important thing. Like, you have to have some sort of talent, but leadership at that position and maturity and going through adversity. Mm-hmm. I never really bought into your take about, you have to go through adversity. But it's becoming a theme. Look at Caleb. I mean, Caleb Williams, we're doubting him now. Now, we'll see if he could put together a back-to-back performances. But he never had any adversity.
No.
Trevor Lawrence never had any adversity. And now we're talking about Kyler Murray. It's a theme now with some of these quarterbacks.
Tua.
They have all the talent in the world. Now, Tua doesn't have all the talent in the world. But, and they don't have the same competitive spirit and leadership that a guy like Baker Mayfield does.
Yeah, and Matthew Stafford's one of the rare cases where he really didn't go through any adversity, unless you count the Lions.
But he has that spirit.
Exactly. He's a very competitive guy.
Yeah.
You could tell how much free he felt whenever he went to the Rams. He was able to do whatever he wanted.
And now we're not inside the locker rooms. We don't really know how guys are, but it's just kind of what we observe as a fan. So we don't want to make judgments on how these guys are personally in the locker room and professionally, but that's just kind of the vibes we get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's becoming more apparent almost every year now. With this, you got to face some adversity. That's why Kenny Pickett's so good.
Exactly. Well, at Pitt, he didn't really go through much adversity other than being a 3-star recruit.
That's why he's going to be the Raiders starting quarterback.
I mean, you never know.
There's one injury away. He's always one injury away, Kenny. Well, I think that'll do it for this week's episode. We got into a lot of good stuff.
Come on, Pitt,
October.
please.
Yeah.
Please, Pitt, please. Win a game. Win one game.
We're on our knees for Pitt this week against Louisville. Off a bye. A lot of good college. We didn't get to talk much about college football. I think we'll recap next week what we saw. Because there's a lot of questions about a lot of teams, and I think they're going to be answered this week. So we're going to be all in on college football this weekend. So thank you so much for listening to this episode as I'm holding my phone charger. And we'll be back next week, October, baby. No Bucktober, but October is here.